Hi, YouTube baseball fans. Today was opening day for most teams, so I wanted to make a video today and show you how to trade for the hardest players to trade for in MLB the Show 24. Now, if you watch my other videos, you'll know you can trade away two of the best players on your team and get them back for free on waivers. So, you can get a lot of value for guys like Oneil Cruz and Ke'Bryan Hayes, but depending on what team you choose to play as in your franchise mode, you might not have that many good players to trade away, and you're limited by the fact that you can only trade away 3 players at a time, and the pitcher you're going to be trading away won't be coming back. So, if you don't know how this process works, I suggest you watch one of my other videos and you'll we're going to be going through the process pretty thoroughly here. I'm sure you'll get the gist of it here, but I explain it a little more in detail there. So, say you want a player like Austin Riley. Great, you have enough value. Ke'Bryan Hayes, Oneil Cruz, and a pitcher, Martin Perez. You might not want to trade away Martin Perez, and remember, he won't be coming back, and he's a solid starter, fifth guy in the rotation. So, you might want to go through and try to find some more value. I just know he's pretty valuable in this game, more than the other pitchers on my 40-man roster. And so if you wanted to trade away these 3 guys, you will get Oneil Cruz and Ke'Bryan Hayes back. But that still might not be enough value for the player you want. Like, a lot of guys in this game are really good baseball players, and in real life, I don't think this trade would go through either, so can't blame the computer for this one. But what I wanted to show you is how to stack some value. Since we know we're going to get Cruz and Hayes back for free, we can trade away them, pick up Austin Riley. It's just showing you here that is the most value you want to you'll be able to get for those players as it stands in this franchise mode. So we'll go ahead and send that trade through. Now you'll have Austin Riley on your team. Now, he's a really good player. He's signed to a long-term contract. He's 27 years old, so really young for baseball. And that would be enough to get almost any player that you wanted. I don't think we're going to find a better third baseman in the game to trade for, but say you wanted Mike Trout. You could almost get Mike Trout, but not quite. So, what we can do is sim through a few days like I showed you in my previous video, and let's see here. I forgot, I'm going to have to wait, go through a few days. Just keep going through, keep checking the waiver wire. You don't want to miss your chance to claim your players. There's a message telling you that there is something important in the transactions menu, and that would be that Ke'Bryan Hayes and Oneil Cruz are both on waivers. And like I said before, if your players are not 80 overall, that message won't pop up, so just sim a few days at a time. Keep an eye on the waiver wire and make sure you claim your players so you will get them back for free, because like I have explained before, no other teams will claim your players, and that only works in spring training. Okay, so now I have Ke'Bryan Hayes, Oneil Cruz, and Austin Riley to work with. So now I could go to the Angels and Austin Riley. Yes, good value, but not enough. Let's try a center fielder. Another thing I wanted to mention is teams like to trade for players of the same position. So, not always, but in this example, Michael Taylor might have slightly more value to the Angels than, say, Nick Gonzalez as a second baseman. So, that sometimes is the case, not always, but like if I had a D potential player and I threw him in the trade, for Mike Trout, he would probably have as much value as, like I said, a second baseman here. Way more value in this case. But it still doesn't look like I'm going to have enough value. So that's something you're going to run into. You have 3 really good players you're willing to trade away, but you still can't get Mike Trout. Closer than I thought, but not enough. So, like I said, teams value players of the same position, so I could go... I know Julio Rodriguez is more valuable than Mike Trout. Let's go to the White Sox because they have Luis Robert Jr. or Robert. I'm not sure how to pronounce it honestly, but he's a center fielder, so you know the Angels will value him slightly more than your, a player of a different position. And in this case, the White Sox also value center fielders, which is slightly inconvenient for me because I don't have a center fielder that matches their value. These guys are too valuable. These guys aren't on my 40-man roster, but we're just going to go with it because we know we're going to get Suwinski and Riley back for free. Just find another pitcher on the 40-man roster. He is not coming back, so make sure you pick a pitcher you are not going to be upset about losing. But we're going to have Luis Robert, Austin Riley, and Jack Suwinski back on the team. Same process, go through again, fix my lineups because I'm trading away the whole team. The fans are thinking, what the hell is going on? But just trust the process, like famous athlete once said. Okay, no, that was an organization, maybe an executive. Anyway, Austin Riley's back on waivers. Sometimes they don't get placed on waivers the exact same day, so Suwinski will pop up hopefully sooner rather than later. There he is. I don't really need him for this example, I don't think, since I'm already trading away to a center fielder. So now let's go back to the Angels with Luis Robert Jr. in hand. Offer him to the Angels. Still not enough value. Austin Riley's too much, so we could stop right there. You could get those 2 players back, but I like to make that bar look nice and even, so I can offer them Ke'Bryan Hayes, where he's coming back. Ryan Barucki is not. But we got Mike Trout. If you wanted to keep Luis Robert, you could, but you might decide you might not need 2 center fielders. You might decide, hey, the Angels are going to be left high and dry with not much talent on their major league squad, so they can keep Luis Robert. I just want Mike Trout, so you just wouldn't claim him on waivers, and he wouldn't be on the 40-man roster, but as soon as an injury strikes the Angels during the regular season, they'll call him up, I'm sure, because I highly doubt they're going to end up with any players at an 89 overall at any position, but let's send that through just so you can see that. Let's go through, fix my lineups again. Hopefully the fans are excited about Mike Trout. I supercharge Shane Bieber. I'm sure that would be very exciting news if I played the Diamond Dynasty mode. Okay, so he must have had a good game today. Alright, I'm just taking a peek here. Kind of lost my spot in the time here. Alright, so that should be one of the 2 players I traded away. Ke'Bryan Hayes, he's definitely coming back. So now we just need to look for Robert on waivers. And there he is. And like I said, if you don't want this player back on your team and you want to leave him on the Angels, the basis of this whole method is that other teams don't claim players on waivers in spring training in franchise mode. So you can just let him pass through the waiver process and nobody will claim him. If you look at your transactions page, find the White Sox on your wheel here, you'll see that, oh wait, no, I'm looking for the Angels, and they have sent Luis Robert outright to AAA Salt Lake, So he's still on their team, just not participating in spring training and not playing in their major league games because he is on the team but not on their 40-man roster, but he will be eventually. That happens. They do that a lot with, like, say, let's take a look at the Orioles here. Their closer, Felix Bautista, is injured. So what the game does and what roster makers do is they just don't put him on the 40-man roster. And what that does is it allows some time to pass where he's not on the team, so they can't manually injure players. So that's just something they do to wait until someone else gets injured and then he's on the major league team. I actually think if we were to go onto the regular season that the AI is a little smarter this season and that they would recognize that they have a really good player not on their major league roster. And I don't know if they designate a player for assignment or end up... They don't usually release players unless you trade players onto their team. But I'm pretty sure that they will end up in the majors sooner rather than later. So now we have Mike Trout. But Mike Trout is probably not one of the hardest players to trade for in the game. I shouldn't say that, but he's not the player I really have to dedicate some time to get onto my team. Like, I just showed you we did that in, what was it, 3 trades. So you see the process. We're stacking value, but say you don't want to settle for Mike Trout. You want somebody younger. You could go straight for Julio Rodriguez. You could probably do this with an outfielder slightly of less caliber than Mike Trout, depending on the players on your team already. But as you can see, O'Neal Cruz and Mike Trout, along with a pitcher on the 40-man roster. I'm running low on guys who I'm willing to part with. Then you can have Julio Rodriguez, but even he, as a 93 overall, 23-year-old center fielder, under contract long term, I still don't think he's the hardest player to trade for in MLB the Show 24. I think it, so far in my experience, has been this guy, Spencer Strider. Who can blame the Braves for wanting to hang on to this guy? They signed him to a nice little contract extension. Got him while he was still on his rookie deal, so to speak, his first 3 years of service time. So I think he's the hardest player to trade for. And as you can see, we went through all that to get Julio Rodriguez, and they're still not really budging. But you could just, if you didn't get Julio Rodriguez, or you were just in a different scenario, you could go through and start as the team I started as and use the exact same players, and it will work the same way as I just showed to you. Oh, I still have way more value than I need to get Spencer Strider, but you could just pick up a few other players, stack value. You just need to keep in mind that you can only trade away 3 players at a time, and the pitcher that you trade away isn't coming back, so you're going to have to get the most valuable guys that you can get. And preferably, like, if I were to trade, I can't even think of a guy who's close to this value, but let's see if we can, since we have all this value on the team, since I've been claiming all these players. So let's try and see if Yuri Perez is just a little more valuable when you're trying to trade for a pitcher. So I'm not exactly worried about getting all my players back, since we're just trying to get Yuri Perez on the team for an example, but they're being a little stubborn. I might have to find a different pitcher right now. So I do have Julio Rodriguez. I could get any of these pitchers I wanted to, but I'm just trying to, let's see what happens when I make this trade. And if if you look at the bar here, you'll notice that these players have basically the same value in the eyes of the AI. So sometimes you're just making that bar. You'll start with a guy who has that much room. That's a little bit. You're going to need another valuable player and probably a good pitcher to close the gap in your bar here at the top of the screen, the yellow bar showing you how much more the value the other team wants to make the trade go through. So sometimes you're just taking a guy like Austin Riley, and then I would take another guy that wouldn't make them go over budget, adding in a pitcher. So now I have Aaron Nola, who hopefully whatever team the player I'm looking for is on, Aaron Nola also sees, or they also see Aaron Nola as more valuable than Austin Riley and Michael Taylor put together. So we're on a ramble a little bit. We could have had Spencer Strider already, but I just want to show you how the pitchers change things. All right, so the way this was going to work, we're going for Wheeler anyway, is Julio Rodriguez, pretty much straight up. I could do just one pitcher if I wanted to on the 40-man roster, and they would still designate Julio Rodriguez for assignment. Let's just go ahead and show you that. Fix my lineups. Completed transactions. If I click the right menu, head over to the Phillies page. He's designated for assignment. He'd be on waivers. I could get him back. I could use him in my next trade. I could keep him on my team. But I just wanted to take a peek and see if the Braves value Zach Wheeler any more than Julio Rodriguez. So I should have taken a screenshot or at least a mental note of the bar since I can't remember how big the gap in the bar was when I was just trying to straight up trade Julio Rodriguez for Spencer Strider. But like I said, you'd have to, in my other video I showed you how to work around the budgets, but for this video, you see we could have got Spencer Strider. We have Zach Wheeler and Austin Riley. Julio Rodriguez is coming back. Let's go ahead and... McCutchen strained his flexor. Poor guy. Hope he makes a speedy recovery. Right there it is. Okay, so... can't make this video and not trade for Spencer Strider one way or the other. So now... what message was that? Was that me getting him back? Nope, that's him on waivers. Okay, so now who? Oh yeah, Mike Trout. We could use Mike Trout. I'm going to be way over budget, and I showed you how to manage that in the previous video as well. But how did I make that work the first time while keeping these poor Braves under budget? Okay. Now it's my budget that's the concern, but we're going to be using Austin Riley. Trade goes through. If I wanted Austin Riley and Julio Rodriguez back, just trade away a pitcher on the 40-man roster. Get all the players back. Get the players I want on my team back. Let the Braves keep a guy. They can keep Austin Riley since I swiped him mercilessly from them at the beginning of the video. You could, if you do see your bar, and I just thought of this, if you see another player on their team that catches your eye, Forrest Wall, just because of his name, you'd have to use a more valuable pitcher. They're being a little stubborn. But say you need a reliever, you could, if you take back a player, just make sure they are not on the 40-man roster, because if they are, then that just means the Braves are going to keep another player out of this trade, since they won't have to designate someone for assignment. So let's just do this for an example and see who they do end up keeping. And you also want to leave yourself some more time to simulate through days. As you can see, I'm at the end of spring training, so This, they will designate one player for assignment, but we're not going to hit the waivers phase. In this example, you easily could. We could have made all those trades, at least with the players we still had that we weren't waiting for back, and that would have been more than enough value to get pretty much any player in the game. Any player in the game. If you can find somebody harder than to trade for, leave me a comment, and I'll make a video about that if you really want me to. But let's see who the Braves kept. They kept Julio Rodriguez. Makes sense. It's a tough call for them, I'm sure, but yeah, so that's only because I asked for Ray Kerr back in my trade, and he was on the 40-man roster, so they only had to clear one spot, and they always trade the newest position players in spring training in franchise mode, so Austin Riley would be coming back, Julio Rodriguez wouldn't. You don't have to worry about that if you're only asking for one player, but if you want two players, just make sure only one of them's on the 40-man roster, because I'm not even sure of a good way to tell which player they're going to keep and which player they're going to designate. It's not always the best player. It's not always the highest overall. It's not always anything else you might value in the game, other than the fact that they always keep pitchers. So now let's just take a look, see if there's anyone in the game. Spencer Strider won't get us. That's blue, so yeah, that's their side. Vladdy, easy. The whole White Sox team, if I really wanted them, easy. Jose Ramirez, Clase, the closer. Shane Bieber, pitcher I've followed for a long time. I don't think anyone's more valuable than Strider. But if you can find somebody, I'll find a way to trade for him. And hopefully you'll start using these processes to build the team with Spencer Strider, Zach Wheeler, whoever else is still left from just the examples I've been doing. And as you know, you'd just be getting the players you wanted back anyway for free. So I hope that helped. If you were struggling to make a trade for, this player, Julio Rodriguez, Spencer Strider, Austin Riley, Adley Rutschman is a tough guy to trade for. If you said, it's great, I can trade away Brian Hayes and Andrew McCutchen, and I know I'll get them back, but it still doesn't get me Adley Rutschman. Now you know that you might have thought, if I could just get some more valuable players and I'll stack them up, and maybe it took you a long time, or maybe you just didn't think about trading the players you just traded for as well. But yeah, I just wanted to show you that you could trade for any player in MLB the Show 24 for free. So, yep, like I said, if you need some help, let me know in the comments, but I think I've gone on long enough in this video. Didn't script this one, don't script any of them, but I didn't really know exactly who I'd need to trade for and where I'd end up, but I just knew Spencer Strider was the end goal. So, yeah, that'll be it for today. You guys have a good season.